Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Tuesday, May the 12th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local market is set to recover some of the previous session's losses, with ASX futures up by more than 0.1%. Global investor sentiment remained positive despite oil prices surging higher, as President Trump said the ceasefire with Iran was on life support. On Wall Street, US stocks closed slightly higher, with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq again reaching record highs, as AI optimism and earnings-driven fervour drives momentum in the market. And that momentum has prompted Goldman Sachs portfolio strategists to warn that while the baseline outlook remains constructive, after the strong momentum rally, we like risk-neutral allocations to defensive low volatility stocks and selective value high dividend yield stocks in order to maintain tech exposures but protect from a sharp momentum reversal. While veteran investor Michael Burry has warned that stocks are likely about to crash. Well, among the stocks to move on Monday, Intel added to its 14% gain on Friday on a report of a preliminary chip-making agreement with Apple, while peer Qualcomm jumped to a record high. Microsoft has targeted $92 billion return from its large early investments in OpenAI. Media company Fox jumped after beating third quarter revenue and profit, driven by growth in its streaming service and increased subscriber fees. Among other movers, some airline stocks slipped as rising oil prices threatened margins. And companies due to report this week include tech networking giant Cisco, semiconductor equipment maker Applied Materials, as well as market heavyweight Nvidia and retail giant Walmart. Well, President Trump says the ceasefire with Iran is on life support. This follows Iran's response to a US proposal to end the war, with it demanding compensation for war damage, an end to the US naval blockade, a guarantee of no further attacks, a resumption of Iranian oil sales, and sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump said Iran's response threatened the status of a ceasefire that's been in place since April 7th, saying, "I would call it the weakest right now. After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it." Well, attention now turning to President Trump's trip to China tomorrow and his meeting with President Xi Jinping, when the two leaders are expected to discuss Iran, Taiwan, AI and nuclear weapons, as well as extending a critical minerals deal. US Treasury yields have risen after President Trump rejected Iran's response, pushing oil prices higher and fueling concerns about inflation. The US 2-year yield rising to 3.94%, the 10-year at 4.41. Australian 3-year government bond yields rose to 4.71%, the 10-year up to 5.04%. US dollar little change, the Aussie has risen to 72.5 US cents. Oil prices have surged on signs the ceasefire is in danger of collapsing, while the Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed. Brent crude futures up around 3.5%, close to $105 US a barrel. Gold has edged higher to around $4,735 an ounce. Copper rose more than 2.5%. Iron ore up to $114 a tonne. And Bitcoin currently trading just below $82,000 US. Ahead today, the Westpac Melbourne Institute will release the May consumer confidence data. NAB will release April business confidence survey. And tonight, the government will unveil the budget, with changes to the tax treatment on investments a key focus. And among those companies providing quarterly updates today, Life360, Coronado Global and NextGen, while GQG provides an April update, and Newmont is due to hold its AGM. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.